November 19 was very, very significant to the National Assembly and, of course, the presidency and Nigerians. And basically, the polity have been looking at issues surrounding the need to really give assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill that was transmitted to the president on November 19. And as we have it, if you recall that it takes a month of 30 days for the expiration for that electoral bill. If the president refuses to give assent or refuses to take a decision, then it becomes law. And there's been this intriguing suspense that really greeted the political space. And at the point where the president was really getting to the deadline, we had another event where the president had to leave the country for Turkey, for the Africa-Turkey Summit. And stakeholders, civil society organizations were really at peak on the need for the president to, if possible, put back to the country and give the assent. But again, he came back on Sunday, and it was expected that quickly he does that. But what greeted the air yesterday was that, well, transmission of a letter before the National Assembly that will be read to the plenary on his veto over that bill. And there are basic reasons he gave on the veto. And in summary, he made it clear that this is going to cause trouble. It's going to be a turbulent one for political parties if he gives assent to the bill. Well, joining me on the National Assembly versus Buhari on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill factor, I have with me a public affairs analyst, a clergy, and he is the senior pastor of Sword of Liberation Bible Church, Bishop Austin Igbasan. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Expectations have been high over the president signing that bill. Were your expectations dampened?
Well, I wasn't disappointed because I said it from the onset. If you take your mind back to before, we have a rigorous exercise where so many brains came together to put up a very tough and a very direction-driven document, which comprises of, if you look at the National Assembly, even in the 2019, pre-2019, you discover that the ruling class, that the ruling party has more of the senators and the members of National Assembly. And you remember then on this same platform where I criticized the president for not assenting to that particular electoral bill. And the excuse then was that the time was not there. And I cited the example of former President Jonathan, that a few hours to election, he gave his assent. Now, the issue is that I wasn't disappointed because from the beginning, when this matter started again, I've already told them that the president will not sign. And they're going to look for excuse. The issue is that, you see, the power that the president of Nigeria has is so much. And that's why, apart from the Almighty God and witches and wizards, the third person that is more powerful on the surface of the earth is Nigerian president. And that's why you see people want to die to become Nigeria president, because they knew that no matter what anybody has done, whatever a president feels in his heart, the president of Nigeria is the president of Nigeria is more powerful than the president of America. You see that when the American president was sick the other day, he specified his sickness and he handed over to the next person, and everything was made public. But it will not happen in Nigeria here. It will never happen. Even when the taxpayer money is used to take care of the president, nobody they will tell you it is wrong for us to know the ailment and know whatever we are spending from our own tax money on that individual. That is how African leaders have made you see, the Constitution of Nigeria was designed to make sure that this country is food dragging. Because you can't imagine, this was the same argument I had the other time, before 2019, that how will a man who is a sitting president, that have most of the senator and member of National Assembly from his own party, and the man, if he's not interested in that electoral bill, he had the power to kill it from his own party level. where he will call his party men and say, I'm not interested in this, and I don't want this thing to fly. I don't want it to go through second reading. But my argument then was that we use taxpayer money, people fly in for public hearing, people, all the brains put together. Are you going to tell me that 109 senators, 109 brains, sat together and look at something, look at the nitty-gritty, and only one brain felt is so important and can overrule what 109. Now, look at the sitting allowance that is paid to the National Assembly members discussing this matter. That happened before 2019, wherein we wasted money, we were paying people discussing this matter, and at the end of the day, the president refused not to sign. Now, you know the resources the Nigerian nation has put in to that discussion. Now, if National Assembly is sitting at once, you can imagine the number, the liter of diesel that is used to power the National Assembly, not to talk of all the logistics that are put together. Now, talking about the allowance of people that sat down. Look at the research, look at public hearing, civil society organization. People fly in from different places, stay in hotel to give their input to this. And don't forget that this member of National Assembly, they are supposed to represent the interest of their constituency. Now, putting in mind that democracy is government of the people, by the people and for the people. Now, if a man comes from a constituency and he listens to his people and says, oh, we want our electoral system to improve, and this is our input from your constituency, oh, yeah, speak on our behalf there. This is our mindset. That means that from each of these constituencies, the mindset of Nigeria is to see our electoral process becoming so better than where we're coming from. I give you an example of late President Yar'Adua. An election was conducted by Professor Maurice Iwu, and the man came and said, oh, the election that brought me to power is marked with irregularities. I'm going to start from there. And from there, we had electoral reform, where Justice Uwais was brought in, and the team recommended some things that were taken into action, wherein we have the card reader, and we are to build up on that, on the transmission of results, wherein thuggery, killing, shedding of blood, and sincerity, and there will be participation from the entire masses to participate in election, because we have discovered that people felt today that they don't need the masses. That's why they can give 4,000 to somebody to vote, because they knew that your term does not matter. As far as it is concerned, we can write a result before the election, and nothing will happen. By the time we want to get to the tribunal, we already pay the judges who will give the highest bidder. You recall to what Professor Jega said about judiciary, given the judgment. As far as tribunal is concerned, tribunal today has become a kind of settlement for people who have suffered in judiciary. And this is a take home for you. It is a time for you to smile home. Now, we are now moving our election to a level where the judiciary determine who becomes the leader, not the people. Now, that means that democracy is gradually derailing from the original purpose of democracy, which is about the people. Now, we are gradually getting into judiciary. Now, we are gradually moving out of electoral umpire, who are supposed to determine by the voice of the people who becomes. In our state here, we have seen it. In other states, we have seen it. Where somebody is standing before the collation center and said, I was beaten, I was asked to chew the result, and I was made to sign under duress. Okay. And the man that is collating is saying, you will say that to the tribunal. Nobody is even saying, let's stop and pause and wipe away the result from that end until we are able to investigate that. And that is collated, is added to it. Now politicians are finding their way around it, and they knew that the voice of the people doesn't matter. So what I say is that if late President Yar'Adua can start from the irregularity that brought him to power and sanitize it to an extent before health didn't allow him to be able to finish those things. And in the day of Jonathan, we have a build-up to it that even Jonathan signed for 8 hours, and that particular signature removed him from power. But yet, as a Democrat, he felt that it is not about me, it's about the voice of the people. Okay. Now, we are having a recurrence of what happened 2019. The president came again with another flimsy, I call it flimsy excuse, because the same president signed the PIB and eventually sent again the part he wanted them to work on back to the National Assembly. Then what stopped Mr. President of signing this Electoral Act and complain about some part and send back to National Assembly so that the effort, not only the effort, I'm talking of bulk of money, the Nigerian money that is used to pay senators and members of House of Rep sitting down.
Yeah, if he signs the Electoral Act, it means that the clauses are already backed by law.
What about? I gave you an example just now,
yes,
of the PIB. The president gave his assent and he complained of some places and sent back to National Assembly. He has the power to do that. Okay. So what is wrong with what we are talking about? Building. This is foundation for democracy. That is Electoral Act. Is even more important than PIB because you are talking of election. If you don't have a sound election, if we derive from this part, we don't have a democracy. That democracy is only when we have democracy we can be talking of petroleum industry, whatever bill or whatever community and all the rest of them. If the president can sign that one and look at the gray area he had, his own reservation.
Okay, you raised the salient point, but let's look at the reason. You said it's flimsy, but let's look at it from this perspective, because the president did say that the reason for this is, as it was disclosed, is that the party already have their constitution, and their constitution indicates and stipulates whether they would have direct or indirect election to bring about their candidates. And if he signs this into law, it's going to cause trouble for the political parties. And this could delve into insecurity that we are trying to battle with. Don't you think that is a salient reason?
In APC, they did their direct primary. This last election they had and all the rest of them. How many persons died? How many persons were murdered? You see, in my place, there's a parable that everybody knows where a woman used to deliver. When we tell a woman, say, go and put your waist near fire, they know that it is not waste, that it is your private part you are going to put to face fire. So what we are talking about is that I call it flimsy, because the election that brought Mr. President, it was card reader that was used to bring him to power. If Jonathan had exhibited this kind of flimsy excuses, I'm sure that President Muhammad Buhari would not be sitting as a president today. And if President Jonathan then had the mind of, oh, everything, is any perfect document on earth that the president does this, he did the same thing 4 years ago and is repeating it again. That one makes, you see, it makes the APC himself as a party to be.
But some have said that it's quite funny the way the National Assembly went about it. That instead of them, splitting this bill into two, so that the fate of another cannot be suffered by the other, they sum these clauses together. But don't you think that was a waste of time and resources?
And I think that if there is an error as far as that one is concerned, civil societies were there, and if there is a packaging, the packaging of this document has an error. It is so simple. You signed the same way you did to PIB. I don't know why it will be applicable to PIB that has to do with funding coming. And this one that deals with democracy itself. Now, what do you bring out of it? That the president himself have, his own party have the highest number of National Assembly members. Is that not a letdown to his own party? Does that one not tell you that there's no synergy within the party? Because the president has power to call his kitchen cabinet and call all the people involved who are championing this thing in the National Assembly and call them into a meeting and tell them this is the direction I want it to go. And it will go in that direction before they send it back to him. Has he not done it before? Has our president not called people in his party and said this is the direction I'm going? And everybody fall in the same way? The same president called them. Even what is against the law. A sitting governor today is the chairman of the APC party. APC, which is against the law. Now, also because, and the man told them nobody should go to court because I want a political solution. If the man can go ahead, and today we have a sitting president, which is even a cheating to the South, that the South has no say as far as the Central Party is concerned, because the Southerner supposed to hold the party, while the Northerner hold the governance. Now, the same president called them in a meeting and gave a political solution that is even against the constitution of their party and the constitution of the country. Now, and everybody is silent and follow suit because of the respect they had for him. A lot of people have cases in court, and he told them that every case must be withdrawn, and people withdraw. Did you see anybody go to court? Even Adams Oshiomhole, did he go to court to go and challenge the decision of the president? If Adams Oshiomhole have gone to court to challenge the decision of the president to make a sitting governor an APC party chairman, he would have won. Okay, but because he had respect for Mr. President. Okay, now, if the president can go to that extent to stabilize his party because of an election coming, what stop him also of calling these people and say, look at the gray area I don't want. We have the National Assembly at the tip of our finger. He appointed all the principal officers there. So there's nobody today. Every time they want him to sign, he wants them to sign for loan. Do you see them discuss about loan? Don't you see how many times they have even signed loan with a clause that Nigeria, part of Nigeria territory can be ceded, and they said they didn't see it, and the same National Assembly signed it. We have one that has just happened now. All of them are doing this because the APC has the National Assembly, and they have, all of them are ears of Mr. President. So if President can go to this extent and gather their support to sign loan, what stops him of calling it? If sincerity is there, I'm talking about sincerity.
A lot has happened. A lot of what has gone under the bridge. Like some also said that this could be a personal fight, between the lawmakers that really lost in the previous party congress that held both at the local and at the state. And so as a result of that, they decided to fight the governors because the scaling through of the bill that was transmitted to the president was bought by these lawmakers, most of them who lost the election. Don't you think this is a personal fight? And basically not even for the masses.
The issue is that the Nigerian politicians, they are self-centered. Everything you see them doing, you see that 98% of everything they push is for them, not for the masses. But if a former president can manage that National Assembly, okay, you can't rule it out that they are fighting back. Okay. Because if you are going to ask me to give my own input, I'm going to tell you that I also supported the member of the National Assembly in the sense that the power of our governors today is too much. Okay. They have too much power. And if we are going to go like this, a time will come that a governor will point to somebody and said, swallow that man. And they will swallow him, not even killing him. He said, swallow him alive. Because our governors have gotten to that level where they don't fear God, they don't fear human being, they don't fear traditional ruler, they don't fear spiritual power, they don't fear anything. So I concur to what has happened. Okay. That what has happened, if you call it a personal fight, let it be a personal fight if it's going to bring sanity to our masses. Okay. Because when the governor sits down and determine who become a judge, he sits down and determine who become a member of House of Assembly, he sits down and determine who become a commissioner. Very soon, he will determine who will get married. He will determine who will have children. So it is good to our democracy. When you see synergy becoming a kind of unity that will make the masses to suffer, it is good that two elephants should fight. The grass will not suffer. It will always strategize and put everything in place. So when we say that, there is no time you can remove fight from democracy.
Uncertainty lies ahead. Uncertainty lies ahead now because the letter is already before the chambers and is expected to be read at plenary today. On one hand, there is this impression that, it already exceeded the 30 days before the letter got to the National Assembly. And so the National Assembly members could have an issue with that against the president. While on the other hand, some are saying, that it's going to be, harmonized and then worked on just as the president said. So what are your expectations at the plenary today?
If you talk about my expectation, it's painful because, number one, I felt that even where we are at the moment, as far as this bill is concerned, if this member of the National Assembly are sitting down and they are not paid, Nigerian money is not wasted, and this thing will get back and will return it again. This is merry-go-round. Those who are doing this, they know what they are doing. If I tell you that this merry-go-round is intentionally because of 2023 election, and they know that if they sign this particular bill into law, that it's going to sanitize our electoral system. And also, don't forget that the people in power, also they don't want to be edged out of power. And that is why they will do everything within this time. We tell them to start on time. When the president complained of time the other time, they started on time. Today, we are talking about primaries, direct primary is going to cause this, is going to cause that. We have, you see, in Nigeria, if somebody 10 children die in a day, they will tell you of somebody that lost 20 children to console you, because there is always something to say in this country. But that's why our will of progress, because I felt that as a Democrat, a sitting president who benefited from this same electoral act that was signed by another man who was sitting on that power, I think the president should do himself well and let people have a kind of valedictory statement about him.
Okay.
That he came, because don't forget, Philip, that all the people in political power today, they were the same people who were in the military. And the people that fought them, Nadeko and the rest of them, you see those who fought them in 1993, those who fought, those who are in the struggle, today they are not in position of power. You see that the team go around again and bring people who were in the same power then, that the people use struggle and they fought, they stick their neck to remove them from power. They find their way to come back to power. Come and tell me, from 1999 to date, how many of the people who were exiled in this country today who are in position of power?
All right, thank you.
So
Thank you.
These are issues we must look at.
Thank you.
I'm not expecting any magic today from the plenary. I'm not expecting any magic, because I foresee it, and I told you that this electoral rigmarole is going to be an exercise in futility. Now, because at the end of the day, you see that the masses who are supposed to have their election transmitted from the polling unit will now, they are edged out. It is not the fight of one politician or the other. So
thank you very much.
To me,
okay,
I felt that we are going backward in democracy.
Thank you, Bishop Austin Agbasan. You've raised a very salient point. Well, before the National Assembly is the letter transmitted and it's supposed to be read at plenary. So we are going to be looking at what will be coming up from that plenary, and this will basically excite other discussions as we go along. To stay.